Live. Here we are. Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody. Andrew here, Top Fitness Strategies. Welcome. And we have one of our great interviews that we do. It's getting to be every Tuesday now, isn't it? This is pretty good. And of course, this is going to be recorded, and you can listen to it at your heart's content later on as well. Now, for those tuning in for the first time, and I'm giving everybody a few minutes to get on here, this is being triple cast, as I like to call it. So it's on my Facebook page, my personal page, my business page, and also my YouTube page. And we're going live right now. And as always, I have sponsors. Okay. And the sponsor this evening for the interview is the 102 at-home common sense health and fitness tips. And I'll put the link right there. And because of the way this is all set up with StreamYard, I have to go to my Facebook page, personal page, and type it in as well. So I have to type everything in twice as we go through this. And so let me put it in here real quick. Our sponsor. Boom, boom, boom. So there's the link. Go for it. Okay, so here's what we got going on this evening. I contacted a friend of mine, I should say an internet friend of mine, and I'll get into how we met, as I always do. Her name is Dr. Joan Kent. Dr. Joan Kent has a master's degree in exercise physiology and a PhD in psychoactive nutrition. She was the very first to document the brain chemical pathways of sugar addiction and to explain the sugar-fat seesaw hormonally and chemically. Joan has helped hundreds and hundreds of clients with metabolic conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and cancer, as well as clients with inflammation and mood issues. Joan's philosophy is based on a quote from the book, The Second Sex. Confidence in the body is confidence in the self. Her approach to nutrition increases confidence and improves quality of life. That quote has become Joan's professional mission. So let me get over here. So without further ado, Dr. Joan Kent, welcome to Top Fitness Strategies interview series.
Thank you, Andrew. It's so great to be here.
Okay. Now, first of all, I hope I didn't butcher anything because half of those words are well beyond my vocabulary. And so
everything sounded fine. Everything sounded just
fine. The Bible, thank goodness, because there's no way I could even spell half of that stuff, let alone try to remember it on my own. So now,
it's good.
One of the things I do right away is for the folks that are listening, I always talk about how I met my person I'm interviewing. And you and I, honestly, I don't remember the first time we met, but we are in several different networking and Facebook groups and stuff like that there, several of them together. And I guess just by pure same teleseminars at the same time, we've known each other that way. And unless there's a different way that I don't remember, is that how you think we met?
I think it was through Jeff.
Okay, Jeff Ryan, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so, it was. Yeah, that way. And I've been to a couple of the seminars with Jeff, and I don't know if we met face to face at one of those or not. And maybe we have, maybe we haven't.
Not in person, no.
Okay, all right. Now I've also heard. I've been to well. Oh, absolutely. Now I've heard Dr. Joan speak. Is it okay if I call you Dr. Joan, or is it Dr. Kent?
You can just call me Joan. I don't care. I have no thing about the title. It's just
people that are watching this, like Andrew, you're well over your head. You got you're professional there.
Joan.
Me and professional usually don't go hand in hand in the same interview when I talk to folks. So I contacted Joan, thank you, a couple of weeks ago, and I said, Joan, I would love to talk about sugar and how it affects the human body, especially on people that are over 50 years old that just want to live a fit and healthy lifestyle. Because once, as we all know, once we get over that 50 hump, everything starts to get lazy, so to speak. I'm not going to get into a lot of details of why or anything. That's the term I like to put out there. So I can go on and talk because I'm excited as heck to have you here. So, Joan, tell us a bit about yourself and what I missed, and then we'll go from there.
You didn't really miss anything. You hit the highlights, and I've been doing what I do for quite a while now. And let's see, I got my degree in 1999, so that is now it's a long time. So I have done a lot of work in this regard. And so when I say hundreds and hundreds of clients, it probably sounds made up, but it's probably closer to like thousands of clients, just because I've been doing what I do for a very long time.
So what got you started in the what so okay, what
Okay.
got you started in psychoactive nutrition? Not because I obviously know my next question is going to be what the heck is that?
Okay, so I'll tell you what got me started in it, and that had to do with the fact that I had a very strong reaction, an addictive reaction to sugar. And yes, and I consider myself the world's foremost recovered sugar addict. So the recovered part is the good part. And yeah, but I'm tempted to say nobody wanted sugar more than I did. So if I got past it, anyone can get past it. And
Okay.
so, yes, that was good. And I was introduced to it through a woman, and I'm not going to mention her name. She doesn't deserve to be mentioned. And that, yeah, it really is a story, but we're not going to go there. But she was working with addicts of all types, and she
Hmm.
discovered that they didn't have a very good recovery rate, and she found a way through food to increase their recovery rate. Well, I wanted to know what the heck she was doing. It sounded so fascinating to me,
Okay.
and so that's how I got started.
Oh, interesting. So you were, like you said, a sugar addict. Now, did you go for your doctorate because of that, or did you already have a doctorate and then this helped the doctorate studies, or however the proper terminology is for
Well,
that?
that's a very smart question. It's a very smart question. Um, I had gotten myself off sugar. I had done that work already. And then this woman I won't mention said something I couldn't disagree with. She said, Joan, this is all you read about. It's all you think about. It's all you talk about. Just do it for real and get a PhD. And so I went back to school and I got the PhD because that did make sense to me.
Oh,
So,
wow. All right. And so I got to ask, because I broadcast my alma mater behind me all the time, St. Joseph's College. Where did you go to school?
oh, I got the PhD at uh, Union Institute in Cincinnati, Ohio. Right. Because if I had done it, this is many, many years ago, and if I had done it anyplace else, they would have made me do the whole food pyramid thing. And I was not really interested in following along with that because I found so many flaws in it, especially as pertained to food addictions. So I wanted to do my own way. And through Union Institute, I was able to construct my own program. And that's what I really wanted to do.
Oh, that is so cool. That is so
Yeah,
cool.
thanks.
Well, I'm not here to talk about your schooling or my schooling. I'm going to get more into the basic stuff on the human body and how sugar affects it. Now, we talked about your psychoactive nutrition. So, how is that different than standard nutrition?
Ah, another excellent question. Okay, so when you
Watch, this is great.
so, don't keep making me laugh. We'll never get anywhere. Okay, so what I was going to say is when many people talk about food, maybe even most people talk about food, they think of foods as a collection of nutrients. So we're thinking in terms of how many fat grams are in it, or how many protein grams, how many carbs,
Mhm.
um, how many calories, vitamins, minerals, all the nutrients that the food contains. And so I look at it a little bit differently because what I know about food, the word psychoactive actually has to do with something that is used in in medicine to
Okay.
refer to various drugs that affect mental state. So I'll give you a couple of examples. You can have prescription drugs like an antidepressant that's going to affect mental state, or you can have a recreational drug that is now legal, which would be marijuana, and then you can also do illegal drugs, that also affect mental state. But
Right.
the point is, foods can do that too. Now they won't be as powerful. They won't be as they won't have such a huge effect the way drugs do. but they do in fact affect mental state. So I'm thinking in terms of how foods affect our emotions, how foods affect us behaviorally,
Mm-hmm.
how they affect appetite, how they affect food preferences, and many things that people who are just doing standard nutrition, and I'm not saying that as a criticism because it's
Oh,
very important, but people who do standard nutrition don't necessarily look at that or take that into account. So I'm looking at it just slightly differently. So I might say things that a regular nutritionist would not say, and vice versa.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that leads me to a question. I just thought of this, and I don't know if I'm going to phrase this right, but when you said different foods affect the body, however you phrased it, in different ways, it's like a drug, but a lot lower in scale. My paraphrasing here. Now, right away, I'm thinking of, okay, when the human body's craving something, usually from everything I've read, everything I've said, and could be totally off base here, it's has to do with sugar, which leads me back to this whole thing. So the human body craves sugar. If you eat it a lot, and if your body gets used to it, you want it more. So is that the kind of craving what we're talking about with foods, or are different foods different cravings within the body? I don't know if I'm asking this right or not.
No, I think I understand what you're getting at. So let me take
Explain
it.
it to me, please. 'Cause I don't know what I'm saying.
And yet I'm following. So what does that say?
There you go.
Us? Okay. So, Andrew, what I was going to say is craving. Bleh, let me try that in English. Cravings come from a variety of causes. We don't have to go into that. But the point is what you said, sugar can trigger cravings.
Mhm.
And sugar is an addictive drug. It's not, people think of it just as a food, but it's an addictive drug. And it can trigger cravings, especially in people who are susceptible. And there are all kinds of reasons people are susceptible, and many of them are genetic. So that can make someone crave, but it doesn't always have to be sugar. There are things that people can crave for all kinds of reasons, including, let's say, certain kinds of saturated fats. Like someone might have a craving for, let's say, cheese, or let's say mashed potatoes with gravy. It's not necessarily sugar, but
Okay.
yeah. So both sugar
Okay.
can do it, and so can other foods.
Okay. So a couple of foods you just mentioned was now have a lot of carbohydrates. Now, in my basic understanding of how the body processes everything works, I keep having this pen in my hand. I need it as my Linus blanket. There you go. So, uh, doesn't carbohydrates break down in the body and turn to sugar?
Um, Good point. Yes, carbohydrates will be, as they are metabolized, will be broken down into sugar, but it's in a different form. So by the time the body has broken it down, it's in the form of glucose. On the other hand, when we're eating sugar, and we can't get in trouble because they're not even in business anymore. Hostess Twinkies, as an example. So that's already in a sugary form.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to hit the body just a little bit differently, and maybe even a lot differently, especially if somebody is susceptible to that. As I said, that could be a genetic thing. But if someone is susceptible to that, they can get a powerful hit from added sugar like that, or fake foods like that.
All right. So that leads me into another question that I had written down here. 'Cause believe it or not, folks, usually I go off the cuff, but I actually wrote down some of the questions because I knew I was talking to somebody that was, focused on this and not some musclehead like I usually talk about in here. And you guys, and that's a term of love for my fellow workout guys. All right. So they know who I'm talking about there. So uh, is there a good sugar and a bad sugar? And I'm putting quotation marks on these. And if so, what is there an easy way to tell which one is which?
Let me talk about this based on my experience.
Okay.
Okay. Um, what people will often think, and this is a very common thing, is they'll think, for example, that the sugar that's found in fruit, which is known as fructose, is good. Why? because it's natural, it's found in fruit, it's automatic. And to go back to my Hostess Twinkie example, that's obviously added sugar. They put junky sugar in that, but nobody's adding anything to fruit. It's just there. And so people think it's natural. And on top of that, we generally talk in terms of fruits and vegetables. We say eat lots of fruits and vegetables,
Okay.
and we always put them together, which implies that fruits and vegetables are equally good for us. That's not the case. And then on top of that, fruits always get top billing. You know, nobody ever says eat vegetables and a little bit of fruit. They always say fruits and vegetables, as if they're both, you know, happening kind of simultaneously in the body and in equal proportions. So,
So you're saying, if I'm understanding this right, that a lot of fruits, even though they are naturally sugary, lack of a better term, they're not good for you, or
I really am saying, I truly am. This is where people start to throw things at me. I mean, if we were doing this in purpose, people, you know, in person, I'm afraid people would start throwing things at me. But what's true is that fruit can be really bad for many people who have always thought that it's a very harmless thing, not even harmless, but even good for them. And what's the point that I really would like to make? It's arguably one of the worst sugars. It might even be the worst sugar. So
whoa, you just blew my mind.
I'll give you an example, and this comes from research, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, sucrose, which is table sugar. Everyone knows what sucrose is. It's table sugar, just the granulated stuff that you buy. You can buy it in a bag, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, granulated table sugar is made up of two sugars. It's made up of sucrose and fructose. And every researcher knows, there's no argument in the science lit on this at all. Every researcher knows that all of the negative health consequences attributed to granulated table sugar come from the fructose in it, not the glucose. Okay. Yeah, so it's a combination of glucose. I think I said this wrong in the beginning. Combination of glucose and fructose, and it's the fructose in it that makes it a problem, not the glucose. That time I definitely said it right.
Well, that's fascinating, because see, I'm always the old additive, or the old saying, an apple a day keeps a doctor away. That's not accurate, or it is accurate?
You know, I can't believe you brought that up. This is such a little story. This is the story that I learned about apples. And I don't know if it's true, but it sounds right. It's not that apples have so much nutrition in them, so we should eat one every single day to keep us healthy. It goes back to the days when doctors used to make house calls to patients in the country. They would get in their little horse-drawn wagon and go around to the houses where people needed them. And the most predominant reason that people called for the doctor, sent for the doctor, was constipation. And because apples are high in fiber, that's what they were talking about. An apple a day would keep the doctor away. So I think if I have that story correct, it has to do with the fiber in the apple and not necessarily the high level of nutrition. So I'm not saying nobody should ever eat fruit. What I usually think is, you know, a couple of servings, and a serving is like one medium-sized fruit or half a cup of berries. That would be total for the day. And then you can go nuts with vegetables. You can pile those things up, you know, until they're falling off your plate and not worry about it. So that would be the proportions that I would recommend, rather than going the other way.
And a fruit juice doesn't count, right? Like a little cup of fruit or a little fruit juice box, that doesn't count, right?
I wouldn't recommend that, no.
And as kids all over the nation, all over the world, get that for lunch, which
I know.
is, you know, it absolutely freaks me out. But anyway, that's a whole different thing. Okay, all right. So, all right. So we talked about the sugars and everything else. So, what is because I asked what's good sugar and bad sugar, and how can the average person tell the difference between the two?
Well, it's pretty easy. If you know what fruits are, you just want to limit them in the way that I said. limit yourself maybe to 2 servings. You
Okay.
got two servings of fruit. So the way to do that would be to think one medium-sized fruit, and then if you're dealing with berries, like half a cup of blueberries or half a cup of raspberries, and that would be your 2 servings, and that should work pretty well.
Okay. All right. And for those tuning in, I'm Andrew, Top Fitness Strategies. I'm talking with Dr. Joan Kent, who is a psychoactive nutritionist, and we're talking all about sugar and how it affects the human body. Okay. So I'm going to change up a little bit here because
Okay.
this has a lot. Well, it doesn't. When people drink a cup of coffee, a lot of people put sugar in it and cream and all the other junk, which I don't recommend, and I tell people all the time, don't. But at
Mhm.
the same token, a lot of these folks, that when they do that at some sort of coffee shop, they sometimes get a bagel, which, in my opinion, is better than a donut, but it's not the greatest thing in the world. So, talk to me about if that's good for them to have in the morning. Is a bagel good? I know it's all carbs and carbohydrates and stuff, and it turns to sugar. But is that okay to get every so often, or should they avoid that altogether?
Well, you just said the magic phrase every so often. If it really is every so often, I don't think anyone has to panic about it. I think sometimes people say every so often, but they're really having it more often than they either may realize or they admit. But what I would say is a very good breakfast would be something that contains protein.
Well, simple. And bagels don't have much protein, if I recall.
No, but if you had a fried egg on the bagel, that
There,
would.
now we're talking. Fried egg on a bagel. All right. I tell you what, forget the bagel, eat the fried egg.
I would
So,
be with you. I would be with you on that.
so all right. And I'm going to change a little bit since we're, again, hopefully this is going to correlate with sugar. I don't know.
Yeah.
But coffee has caffeine unless you're drinking decaf. Is caffeine the same as sugar, or is it a form of sugar, or am I way off base in the two here?
No, it's not a form of sugar. And I'll tell you, I went through sort of a little journey with caffeine because I was studying a lot about insulin. Insulin is the hormone that sugar triggers. Okay, it comes from the pancreas. And what I had learned about coffee, not just coffee but tea, is that these caffeinated beverages trigger insulin secretion. And I was thinking, oh, that's bad, that's bad. So I was telling people to stay away from coffee and tea.
Okay.
But that's what I was saying. Okay, that when I first learned about that. But there's so much evidence out there now that coffee has some excellent cognitive benefits, and green tea in particular. Tea is good in general, but green tea in particular has not only cognitive benefits but also health benefits and weight loss benefits and all kinds of things. So I would just say, no, that's fine. And the less junk you put in it, I'm going with you on this, the less junk you put in it, the better. So,
Okay. All right. So is since we're on subject of coffee, and I have this written down as well,
yeah,
is coffee like you just made the point that coffee that has some benefits to it, so it's a good thing.
yes.
Is it better to drink it in the morning, in the evening before you go to bed, or does the time matter how your body processes it? I guess I'm going to get to.
I don't know. I think it would depend on how somebody can handle it. There are people who may be so accustomed to drinking a lot of coffee that if they had a cup at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, they could still get a full night's sleep. And then there are other people who might drink coffee around 4:30 or 5 in the afternoon/evening and not be able to get to bed at night. So it's the sensitivity, and that's an individual thing. So you probably have to figure it out for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
don't.
let me just say one thing:
Right, go ahead.
eating a little more protein with all your meals will help so that you don't need as much caffeine to get yourself through the day. So that's a good thing too.
Interesting. Okay, so now we're going to transition over to protein a little bit.
Okay.
Proteins and carbohydrates, and we talk about carbohydrates and everything.
Uh-huh.
Proteins. Does the body convert proteins in any type of sugar? First of all, let me ask that question.
Well, anytime. Okay. Such a smart question. Okay. So anytime,
I'm gonna record this and make sure everybody hears.
Anytime you haven't had anything to eat, all right, let's say you haven't had anything to eat and all you have is, let's see, I'm trying to look for something that's pure protein. You take a scoop of protein powder. I'm not saying people should do this. I'm just saying if someone
Okay.
did,
Okay.
okay, and you mix it up with water and you drink that down. So now you have like nothing but protein. Well, your body, if it needs carbohydrates, will be able to convert the protein to those carbohydrates. And it's a very easy conversion. So the body will go with that. And sometimes people think, well, if I drink this, it'll work on building up my muscles. But maybe not. If you haven't had anything to eat, maybe the body will need to use that for fuel. And so it will go in that other route. You know what I'm saying? That makes
Mm-hmm.
sense? Okay.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you're saying there. Okay.
Mhm.
So, and I don't know how I want to phrase this next question, but about carbohydrates and how the body converts them to sugar, which we talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
But is there um, a good way the body can take uh, processed sugar isn't the right word I want to use here. And we talk about natural sugar, but
Just
any man-made sugar, I guess, is what I consider processed sugar. If it comes in a bag, it's processed sugar. Is
okay.
there is there any good qualities about that for the body? Let me ask that. Let me ask it that way.
Okay. Um, I don't think there is. I don't
Okay.
really think there's any time that we can sit there and say, okay, I'm going to have this donut. I think if you're eating a donut, it's probably because you want the donut and not telling yourself that it's good for you. I have not found a single thing about eating sugar of that sort that is beneficial. And I know, again, I'll say this is where people probably want to throw something at me, but I don't think there's really any benefit to it.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to get into the soda pop thing. And I'm a former Mountain Dew-aholic. Love Mountain Dew. It's still my favorite drink. I know it's one of the worst ones out there, and I know that. And so don't scold me for it. But I'm getting to something here. Diet sodas. I
Okay.
am dead set against anybody drinking diet soda. I say if you're going to drink a soda, might as well get the real thing and forget the diet stuff because that's just as bad.
I think the diet stuff has a lot of junk in it that we definitely don't want to put in
Mhm.
our bodies. And so if you really had to have, a Coke instead of having a Diet Coke or a Diet Pepsi, just, might as well have the full out sugar version of it. Not that it would be good, but just that it's not all the terrible, terrible chemicals that you get in the diet thing. Yeah.
All right, that's I like to hear because that's the same thing I've been preaching for a long time, and I didn't even know I was preaching it right. All right, so all right, couple more questions. I only asked for a half hour of your time, and we're about up here. A couple more questions. Is sweetener is that considered sugar? I mean, it tastes like sugar, but is it in the sugar family, and is it better or worse than traditional sugar? Or if that
Do you have a particular sweetener in mind, Andrew?
I know, I know them by pink, yellow, blue. I don't know the difference. The little sugar packets people use.
I know, and I think a lot of those are those commercial things that as you just said, you got the pink packet and the yellow packet. I what can I say about them? There's junk in them as well, and I think research that's been done on animals. You wouldn't want to mess with humans on this, but research that's been done on animals show that they can get just as addicted to an artificial sweetener as they can to sugar. And I had a client who was in, where was she? New Zealand, maybe? Australia. Okay, one or the other, Australia or New Zealand. She was far away and she and I never met. But we were working on the phone and she was more addicted to aspartame, which is an artificial sweetener, than she was to regular sugar. She was very partial to regular sugar as well, but aspartame just really, really addicted her. So it's not necessarily a better substitute. You know, if you think in terms of calories, but as you can probably tell from the way I look at food, I don't think in terms of the calories. I'm not saying they're not important. I'm just saying I don't look at foods that way.
I'm the same way. I don't look at them as calories either, so that's a good thing. So,
Yeah.
all right, we got a question that came in from a listener, and
Okay.
I had to go on a different page to see this. It didn't pop up on my regular place here. This is
Okay.
from Chris, and since we're talking about sweeteners, she says, "Is I guess it's pronounced stevia? Is that
Yes.
is that a safe sweetener?" She asked.
Um, Chris, I really haven't come across anything bad about stevia particularly, but I'm going to advise you to do this. Pay careful attention to how you respond to it, because if you find yourself having something with stevia in it and your reaction is, that was great, give me more, then you're getting that slightly addictive response, even though stevia is by itself not causing any problems. I honestly haven't found any specific drawbacks to stevia, but you can get addicted to an artificial sweetener. So pay attention, Chris, to what your body is telling you when you try one of those things, and just see how you react. Because if your reaction is, let's have another, that's not the sweetener for you.
Good answer. Good answer. And one more question, and just two words is from Lisa. She says, "Beet sugar, beet as in B-E-E-T, yeah, beet sugar. I guess the vegetable beet is
Yes,
that
yes.
is that
Beets have
good?"
a lot of sugar in them. Beets have a lot of sugar in them. They do. And I don't know how they process it, but somewhere along the line, they grind it up, they do whatever the heck they do, and they use that to sweeten things. And I'll say once again, no, I didn't say this before. Let me say this way. Okay. Um, if there were a loophole involved in this sugar thing, I would have found it, because no one looked harder than I did. I did not want to give up sugar, and I was hoping that I would find that loophole, that one sugar that allowed me to do what I needed to do, meaning eat the sugar, what I wanted to do, which was eat the sugar and not have any negative effects. But I haven't found one, and I'll repeat, I looked harder than anybody. So trust me, you need to pay careful attention when you eat something that has beet sugar in it. In the same way that I told Chris to watch what happens when you have stevia, pay attention to what happens when you eat something with beet sugar in it, because you could have a very strong reaction to any kind of sugar. I know that I did.
Now, beet sugar. We're talking about the vegetable, the beet, right?
Right, exactly. Those red things. They also come in gold.
Little
But
red one? Yeah, okay, all right, no problem. So, well, last question, are you sugar-free, completely sugar-free, or do you consume any kind of sugar at all?
yes, I am. And I know at this point, I've been doing this for so long, it's become easy. And I went through periods where I would look at food that, I used to like, for example, pass by the bakery department in a grocery store
Mhm.
and see things that I used to eat, cookies or brownies or something like that, and wish that I had it. And now it's just not food. I don't think of it that way. So there's a progress that you make where you can just look at it and say, it's like, I don't eat that. And that is a wonderful feeling of freedom. And so, yes, it is possible to be sugar free. The cravings go away completely, and that's a wonderful thing. People always talk. I read articles where people say, "Oh, those sugar cravings never go away, do they?" Well, yeah, they do, and they'll go away completely. But you have to be willing to make the changes in your diet that are necessary, and that's what I help people do. So
Okay,
it's not just a matter of giving up the sugar. It's a matter of getting everything else stable in the diet so you can do it.
which leads to the final thing here. So, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what kind of programs do you offer, or what do you want to offer this evening for everybody watching right now?
Okay, if anyone is interested in just trying this, I'm offering something that I'm calling a taste of nutrition coaching. And I'm going to give a very special rate of 4 weeks of nutrition coaching for $97. And that is way lower than my usual rate, but I want to make this available to people if they want to see what they can do or get to know me, see how I work. And I've learned over the years to make this easy for people.
Good. And I put the link in the chat box or message boxes or whatever, depends on the platform here. And your website is lastresortnutrition.com. And
Yes.
they can get all the information for your taste and nutrition coaching from that website?
I don't have that specifically there, but all they have to do is contact me. There's a little, something to click on where you could just contact me and then tell me that that's what you're looking for. There'll be a form that you can fill out.
Okay.
And, you'll give your name and your email and all this kind of stuff, and probably a phone number, and just let me know that that's what you're interested in. I'll be in touch and we'll work all of this out.
Fantastic. And if folks, I always put this out there, if you're listening to this and you didn't write anything down, you know how to get in touch with me. Send me the information and I can pass it on to Dr. Joan, and no problem there. And so don't feel like you have to write everything down right away if you're driving or something, because you know how to contact me and I can get messages to her all day long. So Dr. Joan Kent, thank you again for being my guest this evening. I only asked for a half hour of your time and I went a little bit over it. Apologize for that. I want to reserve the invitation to have you back in the future sometime if we can.
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me. I've had a great time. And second, yes, I would love to come back if you have other topics we can talk about, whatever, or more on this. So you let me know.
Hey, since I'm in the fitness field and you're the psychoactive nutrition expert, there is all kinds of stuff we can talk about. It doesn't have to be sugar related. We can get, I'm sure you've forgotten more than I'll ever know. I know that much about it. So we can talk for days on that subject. Maybe I'll get a couple of my musclehead friends in here. You can slap us around a little bit and what we're doing, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Slap people around.
Okay, Joan. Thank you again for being my guest. And folks, thanks for being here. And once again, you can find it on Facebook, YouTube, all different places, topfitnessstrategies.com, and go visit Dr. Joan's website, lastresortnutrition.com, and find out about her program. Okay, so I'll end it here. So once again, thank you. And until next time, this is Andrew and Dr. Joan. Ciao.